I'm Terrence James. You're watching another episode of Neutral Reviews, where we do real reviews for real decisions. And today we are looking at the all-new fully electric 2023 Subaru Solterra. And I have borrowed the keys for this vehicle from Subaru of London that has a fantastic location, welcoming atmosphere, friendly service, and who also offers some of the most fun, safe, and practical vehicles on the road today, including this one. Now, for years, Subaru has been perfecting a vehicle that can get us through the daily urban grind with ease, but then off the grid into a little adventure on the weekends. However, with this global push to electric, you're going to have to plug this into the grid first before you can leave it. So, Subaru has wisely partnered with Toyota, who has a lot of experience in EV, where they can still bring their experience at a world championship level of all-wheel drive to the table still. So because this is a brand new vehicle, we will not be able to test all the active urban that we would like to, but we plan on doing a really good job on testing the urban to make sure that it can still get you through that urban grind during the week with ease. So we give you the facts, feels, and final thoughts of the 2023 Subaru Solterra. We give you the quick facts up front, test out how they feel, and then we give you our final thoughts. So let's take a look. Now, Subaru uses a symmetrical dual electric motor setup on this, front and rear. And you're looking at a combined 215 horsepower and 248 pound-feet of torque, which is capable of rocketing this 4,400-pound rugged little EV SUV from 0 to 60 in around 6.5 seconds. Of course, you need a battery nowadays to help do all of that. So you're looking at a 72.8 kilowatt-hour battery pack that is lithium-ion. It's going to be liquid-cooled and heated. You also have a heat pump, especially for climates like this, and a pump as well to give you your air conditioning and everything else like that. Now, you're looking at approximately around 350 kilometers or 220 miles of range on this, and you're going to have level 1 charging, of course. That would take forever, but if you install level 2 in your home, you're looking at around 9 hours, so basically overnight for this. And it has DC fast charging of up to about 80% in around an hour or so. Subaru and Toyota claim a little less than that, and Toyota, because this is a collaborative project, as we said with them, says that these batteries, they hope after 10 years will still have 90% capacity on them. Now, because this is electric, some electric motors do use a transmission. This does not. It is direct drive, but you do have differentials on there. And when talking about that, that is going to have a new all-wheel drive system. Again, what Subaru is bringing to the table. So excellent programming on this. You have 2 X modes. You still have your hill ascent and descent on there. And with this new system here, with these dual motors, front and rear, the power rolls on really well in the beginning, and those power numbers aren't all that great on paper. It does feel a lot faster than that. We'll get to that, of course, in the feels portion. But with all of that said, it is really, really good when it comes to things like that. Now, we have to steer. So what does it use? It uses a 14 to 1 steering ratio in here, electric nowadays, of course, because this has all those safety features and everything else. And it steers these upgraded 20-inch aluminum wheels, which you can get on this mid-level trim or on the top level as well. But you get 18s on the base, which some people would prefer if you are off-roading. Now, when we are talking tires, both the 18s and the 20s are going to use all-season tires on there. And when we're talking brakes, because you need to stop, we have regenerative braking nowadays. It's an electric vehicle with a few different settings, but you're looking at 2 piston front and 1 piston rear brake calipers, 14-inch, vented discs all the way around. You're looking at about almost 13 in the front, 12.9 inch, and around 12.5 in the rear. Now, suspension, you're looking at McPherson strut in the front and double wishbone in the rear, which is an excellent setup for this. And of course, being an off-road vehicle, everything has been beefed up a little bit. And that's what we need to talk about next, is the chassis or platform. So Subaru and Toyota, again, have come together to make this dedicated EV platform. And you're looking in this configuration of a 2+3 setup. And because it has the dual motors front and rear, and they're the same size of engine, and those batteries are flat packed on the floor, I don't have the numbers, but I would imagine that the weight distribution and center of gravity on this vehicle is excellent and very low. I do not have the braking distances. I could not find, or the skid pad on this. But again, that low center of gravity on this and the way that it's set up, it should feel pretty good and planted around the corner. And of course, this being an electric vehicle, the drag coefficient is important. I do not have the numbers on that. But again, it's more of a traditional SUV look to this. So again, I don't know how slippery it will be, but I'm sure it's pretty good. But the main focus on this vehicle isn't so much efficiency, it is off-roading and being able to make sure that you can take this like a Subaru always could in many different places and many different conditions. And with that being so, on this platform, you're looking at about 112-inch wheelbase. But what's more impressive on it is really in its segment, which there's nothing else quite like it yet at this price point or around this price point, is you have, I believe, a 17 degree approach angle and a 25-degree departure angle, and you're looking at about 8.3 inches of ground clearance. Again, it's not a true off-roader or a rock crawler when we say that, but this is a heavy-duty little CUV, especially for EV. So that's really, really nice to know when it comes to that. And of course, being an electric vehicle, again, I don't have the numbers on it as far as your decibel levels, but again, I would imagine it's going to be very, very quiet because of the fact that you don't have that traditional petrol or gasoline engine, and you have all those batteries to help cushion a lot of that sound that's going to come up from the ground. So when we talk about towing, though, because this is an electric vehicle, they do recommend putting some active urban lifestyles on there, but not trailers or boats or things like that. So when we talk about that, also we want to come into the inside, because this is also where you're going to spend a lot of your time. So let's look at the facts on the inside. Okay, again, much warmer in here. Happier to be in here for this facts portion. So when we want to continue on talking about the facts, we'll talk about the cargo. Now you're looking at about 29 cubic feet of total storage space with those seats down. They're 60-40 split, of course. And as you can see, you do have a 2-load level floor on there, but probably the most common use would be the top level where you can keep it flat all the way across. We're talking about cargo as well back there, at least on this trim here, which is your luxury or middle trim. I don't see any power outlets back there. And one thing to keep in mind as well, with this being more of a adventure type vehicle, not a true rock crawler, but nonetheless, it would always be nice to have a full spare, because if you ever get stuck out on the trail or somewhere like that, it's nice to have. This does not have that. But again, we're seeing that less and less nowadays, but just to keep that in mind. And as well, there's not a ton of space. There's ample space, but not as much as you would think for a larger, or, you know, when I say larger, a decent size SUV like this. But again, that is because of Subaru's angle on making sure that this is more capable off-road than pretty much anyone else in the segment. So to get those short overhangs, you're also going to lose a little bit of cargo. So keep that in mind. And again, with the batteries underneath, it raises the whole floor up, which again is going to lose a little bit of cargo space as well. But that is the nature of the game nowadays with EV. Now, with that being said as well, when we come up here to the back, that whole floor, again, as we said, is a little bit higher. So I'm only at 5'7", so it doesn't bother me that much, but I would imagine if you're 6 foot tall or something like that, your legs are going to be a little bit higher just because of the way that the floors are, as we said. But a benefit of having the flat floor, as you can see, is if you ever do stick somebody in the middle, which not many people do, but if you do get stuck in the middle, especially as an older child or an adult, it's nice not to have that lump where that housing for the drive shafts usually go through on this vehicle. So it's nice and flat all the way across. And as you can see as well, these seats are half decent for comfortable. And when I say that, it is as comfortable as anything I've sat in at this price point. But again, that it could change a little bit depending on the nature of the angle of your legs. And they do offer a recline on here, but not much of one. It just goes back a little bit, but that could also help as well. What else here on this mid-level trim and the top level technology package as well, you're going to get these nicer leather seats, and again, pretty comfortable, as we said back here. You do have a center armrest, as you can see, with a little bit of storage and 2 cup holders, which is nice. And when we're talking about more amenities, you do have USB plugins for both people on the left and the right back here, which is nice. And you have heated seats on the left and right as well. And you do have dedicated vents as well back here. So it's not a true tri-zone. However, it is nice to have those vents to get a little bit more airflow back here as well. These doors, they do open up Not as much as you would like on some of the vehicles that we've looked at. I jokingly said past 45 degrees the other day when it was almost 90. This year it looks more of you're like 45 degrees. It's, you know, if you want to get things in and out, it's not going to be quite as convenient. I don't see in this level a lot of storage back here other than the storage bins on the doors, but as you can see, there's a decent amount of space in those, and it looks like you get water bottles in and out quite easily. I do not see the panoramic or the dual sunroof on this like you would on that top level trim, which is nice to give you a little bit more light back here. But all in all, it's not a bad place to be. But most of this time you're going to be spending anyway is up front in the driver's seat. So let's talk about the facts up there. Okay, now for the facts up front. So we usually like to start with the steering wheel, so let's just go ahead and do that. You've got a nice steering wheel here, feels good in the hand. Now it is a little strange because it's quite chunky in here and there's a lot going on, but I always complain about these, you know, actual buttons going away. Well, there's lots of buttons here, so no complaints that way. And basically you're looking at a lot of your safety systems on the right here, and on the left a lot of your other more navigation type buttons to help with this screen here, cycling through certain things, your phone, your voice control, volume, things like that. And it is manually telescopic and tilting for adjustment, if I can find the thing here. So again, the adjustment is a little bit strange because it's a little bit different. As you can see, there's not a lot of up and down movement, and a lot of that has to do with this new gauge cluster, digital gauge cluster that's in the front here. Now, one of the things I do appreciate with this Subaru Toyota collaboration is they have tried to keep a really decent price point for EV anyway, and a lot of these EVs, they like a heads-up display, but that also costs a lot of money. There's a little more technology that goes into there. So Toyota and Subaru's idea is to give you this digital cluster and put it in a more unique position that's higher up, to give you kind of like that heads-up display visual eye line to give you most of the information. Now, depending on how tall or short you are, the steering wheel could really be in the way of that, to be honest. But I do like it in theory. It's pretty nice, and there's lots of good information on there. And as we said, you can cycle through there on here. Now, when we're talking about seats, this mid-level luxury trim here, you're going to have these leather seats. They're nice, they're comfortable, not overly fancy. You're going to have power at this level, and of course on the top trim and this mid-level here, you do have manual adjustment on the passenger side. You do have heated seats left and right, and as we said as well in the back on both outer seats. But if you get that top level trim with the technology package, you're actually also going to get a button here for ventilated seats as well as heated seats. Now, you also have a heated steering wheel, which is nice. Again, a lot of these people are going to adventure, take this vehicle on adventures, so as much heat as you can get if you're cold is always nice. And when we're talking about that, I do like that they've kept a lot of hard buttons still. So of course this is very modern and very clean in here, but we still, it's more of a benefit to have hard buttons for certain things. So for here, you got your temperature up and down, and the different adjustments on, you know, where the air is going to come at you and the fan speed, things like that. And then the other heating and ventilation buttons, they do put electronic, and, you know, of course you're going to get fingerprints and everything else like that, but it does look pretty slick when it's new. And as far as your electronic stuff goes, it works actually pretty good, I have to say, on there. Now, one of the things as well is to shut off on me because I've had it on for too long to save the battery. But when we come here with other inputs, you've got this dial down here. This is how you're going to go in and out of gears. So you press down and you go to the left or right. It's kind of neat once you get used to it. And you've got the big P button there for park. Now on the left side here, again, this being an electric vehicle and a newer vehicle, you're not going to have an emergency brake with the manual handle like you used to. So you're not going to be off-roading or doing rally racing tricks with that type of thing, but you do have an electronic brake with hill hold here, which is nice, and you have a button here for your regenerative braking or your one pedal braking, whatever you want to call it nowadays. And these paddles we wanted to mention on the steering wheel aren't for racing through non-existent gears you don't have. It's actually to adjust the regeneration on there. There's a few different settings. So basically when I say that is how aggressive is it when you let off your foot off the gas pedal, because if you've never driven a one pedal system, which these new electric vehicles have. Basically, it's eliminating you having to move your foot to the brake. So when you're just cruising around doing normal daily driving, you push down for acceleration like normal, and then when you back off the gas pedal, it's going to start to apply that brake. So again, it's going to give you some regeneration to help give you some battery power back, but really it's also helping you slow down as well for convenience. But you do not have to have that. You can turn it on and off with that button. When we come over to the right side, you get a little bit more push buttons here again, which I like to have hard buttons. You've got that dual X mode we're talking about, and you've got different drive modes here as well. But one thing that I really like, which is neat, and we'll hopefully be able to test it out on the feels portion, is this auto parking. It's also kind of scary, to think that this thing can park itself, but we're going to give it a try. Nonetheless, you do have that. And for the first time for Subaru anyway, you also have a full 360 camera. Now, that's not going to come on the base. It's going to be on this upgraded vehicle, especially that top technology package. But yeah, it's really nice to have for Subaru. And again, we don't have it in here. They do offer a panoramic sunroof as well on that top level trim. Now, when we come here and we're looking at your infotainment and things like that, you've got this beautiful upgraded 12.3 inch touch screen on here, and this does not look like something you would normally see in a Subaru. And no offense, I'm a Subaru owner, but that's really not their thing. They make a great infotainment as far as user interface. It's very simple, easy to get through, but this is looking very Lexus in here, and I like it. Now with this screen as well, not only does the basically Toyota user interface work really, really well here, you're also going to get your Solterra Connect as well on your mid and higher level trims as well, which is nice. I can't remember actually if that is all the way across the board, so I'll have to put that up on the screen, but nonetheless, you can at least get the Connect, which is essentially the app on your phone that you can either lock, unlock the vehicle, you can start to precondition it, get it hot or cold, ready for you, and I'm assuming, I haven't tried it, that there'll be other different types of statuses, how much battery is left and things like that, I would assume as well on there. So that is nice. But the system as well, I just want to mention on the base, they offer the original unit that is literally carved out and put in here, and it looks horrible. So unless you are just really can't get any higher financially on that mid-level trim or the top one, it's understandable. I'm not here to spend your money, but just to keep that in mind if you weren't aware that that's what happens on the base. And what else do we want to talk about in here? You're going to have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto on all levels, which is really nice as well. But on this, at least on this trim here, on the luxury and of course that technology top level trim, you're going to have wireless charging, and we'll try that out hopefully in the fields portion. And you do have another USB in there. Lots of power stuff to plug all your gear in. And down underneath here, where you could possibly put different size bags or purses or things like that, whatever you might want to, you do have 2 more USB, and you have a 12-volt plug-in as well down there. All kinds of storage, as we mentioned. Now, it's a little bit strange. This does not have a glove compartment. However, that's not as uncommon as you think nowadays, and they've put, alternative to space. Being an electric vehicle, there's more room in other places. So over here, you do have a deep little cavity over here that's felt lined, and you've got a decent amount of space over here. 2 cup holders again. Hopefully we'll test out in the fields portion. And then on the doors, you have more storage bins, as you see, and decent size water bottle holders. Now, what I do like, again, we keep mentioning this, I really, really like that these companies are, whether you get the base model or the top trim, for the most part, you're going to get almost all the safety features, even at the base level, if that is important to you. So this here is going to have pretty much a lot of the things that normal cars that are new now have, like you're going to have your blind spot monitoring, your cross traffic, your emergency braking, your lane keep, laser guided cruise control, your basic safety suites. Now, and again, that was a big concentration on the effort of Subaru, what they were bringing to the table in this collaborative project. And if you know anything about Subaru, Subarus are really focused, of course, on outdoor living and safety. And they also make a really reliable vehicle along with Toyota. So hopefully, we don't know this is a new vehicle, but you would expect you would get some good longevity out of it. What else to talk about in here? This This does have the upgraded Harman Kardon, I think it's 12 speaker with subwoofer sound system as well. The bass obviously has a lot less than that, but depending on whether or not you're into that or not, that would be important to mention. And yeah, I can't think of anything else because most of everything in a Toyota and Subaru is all about how it works and feels. So let's go and do our test portions for the feels. Okay, first is our Canadian cargo test because you never know when a game of road hockey is going to break out in Canada and you always want to be prepared. So the nice thing with the new Solterra is it does have a power lift gate, and like most of them nowadays, you can stop it wherever you like and program it there in case you're short so you don't have to slam dunk it down. And we have manual 60/40 split seats. And voila, you got at least one hockey stick and whole bunch of bags that you could probably put back there. Prepared. Next is I spent all my money on a $50,000 to $60,000 EV and can't afford a 10 anymore, but I still want to sleep on my adventure. Can I sleep in the back of my vehicle? Test. Here we go. Not bad. Okay, the next test is, does the vehicle I gave up my sports car for and to help the environment with even work with what I need it for? Baby seat. Here we go. Voila. Our next test is, can I handle the cottage back road test? So here we go. We're going to put it in, I don't think this is absolutely necessary, but we're going to put this, just keep it in normal mode. But I want to change it to the dirt snow mode, just so mainly I can show you that you do have those two X modes here. So we got it in drive and away we go. Like we said, this is just a little back road here. This would be similar to, you know, the type of road you're going to go to on the cottage. And I got to say, it's very, very comfortable and very compliant, and I do feel quite confident. And similarly, we wanted to take this off just a little bit more off-road, and we're literally just in a grass field here, but it's not, you know, a real nice field. So let's just give it a try. Here we go. Again, we got it in snow mode, but I think just a normal all-wheel drive would be just fine for conditions like this. As you can see, this used to be a field where really tall grass grows and then they cut it down at the end of the year, so it's quite bumpy and choppy and similar to what you might have to do if you're going on a little bit of an adventure. But yeah, as you can see, it works really, really well. Okay, and here's where we do our traffic light Grand Prix acceleration test and braking. Like, we're going to rush up to the next stoplight as fast as we can and then hammer on the brakes. So here we go. So what we want to do is we're just going to check our drive modes. We're going to put it in, I guess we've got to take it out of this, and then we are going to put it in power mode. All right, here we go. So let's put it in drive. We got power mode. We'll put on our seatbelt. It's not angry at us. Okay, here we go. Got to get to that stoplight as fast as we can. Here we go. Woo! Yeah, it's not bad. And hammer on those brakes. Ooh. And I heard some ABS kick in there. Not bad. Okay, and our next test is our parking test, just to see how much of a nightmare this thing is to park. And hopefully it won't be too much of a nightmare because this one actually has auto park. So we're going to give it a whirl. Okay, so here we go. We hit the button. Depending on where you're parked and what other vehicles and different parking spots, it's going to give you different options, anywhere from perpendicular parking, parallel parking, straight in, straight back, that type of thing. So in this case here, I pulled it close enough to know where I want to go in that spot there. But as you can see here, you could choose if you want. And it's going to pull, so it's going to show you the perspective of the vehicle. So we're going to be backing in type thing. So here we go. Hit the start button and get the popcorn. And hopefully the entertaining thing is not this vehicle crashing into that pole, since I don't have any money. So here we go. So as you can see, it's got dynamic lines, and it's doing its thing here at a glacial pace. It's aiming it up nice and slow. I've got my foot over the brake just in case, because I'm a little nervous. And Nice. And as you can see, it put itself in park. Very neat. Okay, and here's where we do our handling test. We're on a little back road. It's not even a road, it's a driveway. So I never recommend going fast. But we're testing the vehicle and there's no one around. So here we go. All right, we got it in power mode. Woo! Tell you that instant torque is awesome. Okay, holds really, really well. And a lot of stuff moving around because of those leather seats. And we're dipping in this corner here, nice and tight. Not a lot of body roll. Hold really, really tight. I'm very, very impressed. Nice and smooth. And we're through the corners. Very well. Okay, here's where we're doing our cruising around test. Basically, this is our chance to rant and rave and lead us to our final thoughts. So, you know, I've really enjoyed this vehicle all day. One thing that I'll have to say is that it really does not drive, to me anyway, like an electric vehicle. I only have a very small experience in electric vehicles, but to me this feels a lot more like a conventional Subaru and conventional gas engine. Obviously there's a lot of instant torque, which, you know, the gasoline engines don't have, but generally speaking, it still makes a little bit of noise. I still feel a little vibrations, and not in poor quality, just I think a lot of these things are probably done on purpose just to make you feel like you're in more of a normal vehicle. Very limited body roll, like almost none, which is really nice. It's very quiet. It's the suspension is very nice and compliant, goes over bumps nice, as you saw on that gravel road thing, and the off-roading we did, same thing, very compliant. Very, very impressive. It's a very, very nice vehicle. The only thing that I'd have to say that I noticed is, you know, we don't really have time to do the test, but the wireless charger worked better than anyone that I've had so far right away. It picked up the charge, and as you can see, the water bottle here fits nice, fits up over in the doors just fine. Yeah, like that type of thing works just well on here. Lots of storage, good visibility, as you can see, both front and back. So lots of room back there. I don't feel like I'm overly claustrophobic. And up here, same thing, there's lots of visibility, but Subaru and Toyota is always pretty good for that, giving you lots of visibility. And the only other things I really noticed was the other electric vehicles I did was not in a super cold climate like we are right now, and that heater took forever. That was awful. And I did have the full 350 kilometer charge when I picked it up this morning, and I'm down to 268, and I've literally only driven maybe, I don't know, 5 kilometers, something like that. But I've had the vehicle on and off pretty much all day trying to keep warm, things like that. And some of these things look nicer on the video when it's turned on. So yeah, so again, that's going to be a concern. If you are off-roading or going to cottages and things like that, you know, it does eat through the battery pretty good. And again, not saying that it's worse than any other electric vehicle, just saying that's something you're going to keep in mind. So all in all, I have to say I really enjoyed this, which leads me to my final thoughts. Now, if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and check out one of our other related EV reviews so we can get more cool cars like this one and our upcoming review. Now, we started off this review by looking to see if this all-new 2023 EV, fully EV Subaru was in fact still a Subaru, because Subaru was so good at perfecting a vehicle that could get us through the weekly urban grind, yet still get us off the grid for a little fun and adventure on the weekends. But now, because of the new EV world that we're coming into, you actually have to plug into the grid to get off it. So how does the Subaru do? Well, here's the facts and feels that we use to come up with this final thought. Which is, one of the things I love about Subaru, as we said, is it's very unique in any segment in the sense of it is a vehicle that's very practical, fun, and you can do a lot with off-road. Now again, this is not a true rock crawler, but Subaru, as we said, likes to get you off the normal path and off on one where there's a little bit more adventure. And can we still do that in an EV world? Well, as far as functionality goes, as we saw in the feels portion, even though we didn't test out too much of the active urban portions, as you can see, this was still a very capable vehicle on and off road, and it still does feel very Subaru. But because it's an EV and we have to consider charging, we always want to remember that you are going to be a little bit limited in that over the next few years until a lot of these vehicles get the better battery and charging technologies and more infrastructure around us. But I have to say, that it is another wonderful collaboration between Subaru and Toyota, because you have the reliability, the wonderful chassis, and the EV technology that that Toyota has worked really hard on and started to perfect over the years, especially with that Prius and now with other vehicles. And now here with this, we have the nice combination between that and your World Rally all-wheel drive, symmetrical all-wheel drive systems and technologies that Subaru can bring to the table, along with all that safety. So with all that said, I do not think that you can go wrong if you're looking for EV and a little adventure and still need a good daily driver with the all-new 2023 Subaru Solterra all-wheel drive. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.